Shalom. I'd like to start out by giving all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakak, Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. This is the Mayim in Atlanta, and I've got pulled up here on ChatGPT information about Operation Wetback. And that's basically what is going on right now with ICE and all these operations to rid Babylon the Great, aka America, of the Northern Kingdom, so-called Latinos and Native Americans. Because really, what we call Latinos, Mexicans, and people from Central and South America, they are the Native Americans. They're originally here. And it's just Esau's redrawing of lines and stealing of territory and reclassification of people to where they're being made illegal in their own land, in their own country. But they know this, and they just want to rid what they call, quote unquote, their country, what the Edomites say. They want to rid their country of so-called Mexicans, which are truly Israelites of the tribe of Issachar. And they've had operations in the past to do this, and they're doing it again in the future. There's no new thing under the sun. So I was in ChatGPT, and I said, tell me about Operation Wetback. And if you know, wetback is a derogatory term for so-called Mexicans, which I even looked it up in the etymon to see if it was in here, and it's in here. But we would be called proverbs and bywords, and wetback is one of those proverbs and bywords that they call us. So wetback from the etymon online is illegal Mexican immigrant to the U.S., which they can't be illegal. They are originally from here. Originated in 1924 from wet and back, from the notion of wading the Rio Grande. So, coming over here, yeah, Esau just pokes fun at everything about Jacob, in which Issachar and all of Israel are going to eventually have the upper hand on these Edomites being so-called white people, including the small hatters. But getting into this on asking ChatGPT about Operation Wetback. It says Operation Wetback was a U.S. government initiative carried out in 1954 to deport Mexican immigrants, both undocumented and often lawfully present workers. And we see this with ICE arriving where people are working and taking them out from where they're working, going to construction sites and taking people off of roofs and removing them from these sites and leaving it empty, especially once the job's done. They're coming in and taking Issachar away. And they did this in the past. It says it was led by the U.S. Immigration and Naturalization Service. So this is what basically ICE used to be called under the Eisenhower administration, with the stated goal of curbing illegal immigration, especially of Mexican laborers who had entered the U.S. outside the Bracero program, a legal guest worker system. And I bet even back then they were like, oh, these are violent criminals, and had all the propaganda rolling just like today, because there is no new thing under the sun. We're going to skip through some parts, but it says background post-World War II era saw a growing demand for cheap agricultural labor in the U.S., especially in states like California, Texas, and Arizona. So out west, the Bracero program from 1942 to 1964 allowed Mexican workers to come legally for seasonal farm work. However, poor oversight led many to enter without documentation. As illegal immigration increased, political pressure rose, particularly from labor unions and nativist groups claiming that undocumented workers lowered wages and displaced American workers. So this is where it started. They took our jobs. This is exactly where that is getting its start. There's no new thing under the sun. It says the operation, 1954, launched June of 1954, directed by INS Commissioner General Joseph Swing, with support from Eisenhower and cooperation from Mexican authorities. Methods included large-scale sweeps, roadblocks, and workplace raids. We are seeing that today with ICE in these certain cities. It says joint operations between U.S. Border Patrol, local police, and sometimes military resources. We are seeing that today. Immigrants were rounded up and sent to holding camps before being transported by bus, train, ship, or plane back to Mexico. And they're not even dropping them off in Mexico now, or maybe some of them, but we hear there's bodies being washing up ashore. And they are holding them in camps. Currently, there's that alligator Alcatraz. It's probably the most famous of them, which was put up in a matter of weeks. This has happened before, and it's happening again. It says the scale estimates vary, but roughly 1 million to 1.3 million people were deported or voluntarily repatriated that year. Ooh. Controversies, civil rights violations, humanitarian concerns, propaganda element. The operation's initial success was exaggerated by officials to create a deterrent effect. These are violent criminals. These are violent criminals coming here. And we saw that. It started out like that. They're going to take the violent criminals, and it became anybody who looks like they're of the Northern Kingdom, anybody who looks like Latinos. And now it's to the Southern Kingdom, so-called Negroes. Just saw ICE enter into New York, and they are harassing quote-unquote Negroes who are the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. They're after Jacob. Jacob's trouble has already begun, and it's just going to grow and grow. Aftermath. The operation temporarily reduced illegal immigration, but the effects were short-lived. Within a few years, migration resumed, partly because U.S. agriculture still depended heavily on Mexican labor. And this is the same thing that's happening. They're shooting themselves in the foot over this. And it's going to hurt. It's hurting them economically. Nobody else is going to work these jobs. This is what Issachar does. Yashakar, he is hired. They're good at what they do, and this is going to hurt Esau. But again, there's no new thing under the sun. They've done it before, and they're doing it again. They've hurt themselves, shot themselves in the foot before, and they're shooting themselves in the foot again. But this time, it's all going to add up to your downfall, Esau, Edom, so-called white people, and those tiny toppers. Y'all are falling. Historians now view it as a harsh and racially charged campaign, illustrating how U.S. immigration policy has long oscillated between dependence on and hostility towards Mexican workers, because they have that hate that did tear perpetually. It says Operation Wetback remains one of the most controversial episodes in U.S. immigration history, just like what's happening now. It's very controversial. It influenced later enforcement tactics and rhetoric, often cited in debates of mass deportations or border militarization. The term wetback itself is now considered a racial slur, and historians use it only in discussing the operation's official title. It says, would you like me to show declassified documents, newspaper headlines, or photos from the operation's coverage in 1954? Which I would like to see that, but I had a question of my own. And so I said, is what's happening today with ICE a continuation of Operation Wetback? And here's what it said. It said that's a really thoughtful and important question. And yes, there's a clear historical throw line between Operation Wetback of 1954 and the modern operations of ICE, the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. While they differ in structure and scope, both reflect a continuing U.S. pattern of immigration enforcement that targets Latin American, especially Mexican migrants. Here's how they connect and differ. Let's get some scripts because we haven't gotten any yet. This is Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. And that which is done is that which shall be done. And there's no new thing under the sun. There's nothing new. We're watching things that have happened before happen again. It's all happening all over again. And since we're talking about Issachar, the so-called Mexicans, let's get what it says about Issachar. And so this is Genesis 49 and verse 14. It says, Issachar is a strong ass. Issacharites are strong. You know they're strong. You see them working and lifting up stuff and working these hard, heavy construction jobs. They're strong. They're naturally strong. Issachar is a strong ass. Asses are stubborn. They're strong and stubborn people. But all of Israel is stubborn and strong, couching down between two burdens, and they are in between North America and Central and South America. Those two burdens. It says, and he saw that rest was good, and the land that it was pleasant, and bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute. And these are end time prophecies of where these tribes would be. They are right there in the land of Mexico, so-called Mexico, between the two burdens. They are a strong and stubborn people, and they're basically as slaves currently. They're hired as cheap labor, and you know, it's a shame how they're treating our people basically. Let's go back to chat. Moving down a little bit. So saying is what's happening today with ICE a continuation of Operation Wetback. It says, so here's how they connect and differ. Institutional lineage. Operation Wetback was run by the INS, the Immigration and Naturalization Service, under the Department of Justice. After the 9/11 attacks, the INS was dismantled in 2003, and its duties split into USCIS, Immigration Benefits, CBP, Border Enforcement, and then ICE, Interior Enforcements and Deportations. So ICE is the modern descendant of the same system that carried out Operation Wetback, just reorganized under Homeland Security instead of Justice. And I bet this all went together with a lot of the legislation that they were doing back then, particularly the I can't think of the names currently, but to where they could spy on U.S. citizens better. And then I bet ICE was set up so that it could be outside of the Department of Justice, so that they could move under the color of law, not just regular laws in the Constitution like they're doing now, because they're going outside of the Constitution to do what they are doing. So, this is a subtle devil. They've been planning this for a very long time, planning their way to rid themselves of the Israelites, Jacob's trouble. They've been planning this and how they can continue with their own rulership, but it's not going to work. They have a heavy price to pay. Verse 2, philosophical continuity. Both systems operate from the same enforcement mindset, mass roundups and deportations. Deterrence through visibility. Both are designed not to just deport, but to send a message that unauthorized immigrants are not safe anywhere in the U.S. It says racial profiling. Then it was Mexicans and Mexican Americans. Now it's overwhelmingly Latinos through ICE. Though ICE also targets other groups. And it's Latinos in there. They're targeting so-called Negroes now, as well as some other groups, but it's mostly Israel, the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Here's some key differences. So the agency, INS versus DHS, legal authority, executive directive under Eisenhower. Now it's federal law, immigration and nationality. This says the scale 1 to 1.3 million deportations in 1 year in 1954. That's huge. And this, it says roughly roughly 200,000 to 400,000 deportations annually. And so this is under ICE from 2003 to present. So I did go to the AI overview here in Google, how many deportations in 2025. They're giving me, they're saying DHS reported that over 2 million aliens were removed or self-deported since January 20th of 2025, including approximately 400,000 formal deportations. Some reports suggest the fiscal year total for removals will be around 500,000, which is lower than the previous year, which I don't believe. I think it's way higher than that, because you also had these self-deportations, as you see down here. Over 2 million illegal aliens out of the United States in less than 250 days. But yeah, it's been a lot. They're trying to rid themselves of the Israelites, but we're burdensome stone, just like the land of Israel. Getting down to finish this up, but it says thematic continuation both represent a cyclical response. There's no new thing under the sun. To economic and political pressures, crackdowns often follow labor demand and xenophobic backlash. The use of illegal immigration as a tool of domestic politics, racialized policing of labor, deportation as a means to control who can work and under what conditions. Number 5, modern reflection, where Operation Wetback was a single highly visible campaign. ICE is a permanent enforcement infrastructure. So this is here to stay. It says the institutionalization of what used to be a temporary operation. Many historians and activists describe ICE as Operation Wetback made permanent, a constant rolling enforcement state rather than a one-time sweep. That is heavy. This is going to be here permanently. You're going to have these masked goons policing the streets for anybody that is illegal, and there's reports of them having an app that they can facially identify you with and take you into custody with. These are some serious times that we're in. We're watching authoritarianism grow and become something. And that's about it for that. It asks some other, if I wanted to know more, but it started glitching out the more I started asking. So we're going to stop it right there, grab some quick scriptures, and call it a day. This is Genesis 49. Oh, Slakia. Not Genesis 49. We're going to go to 2nd Esdras 16 and down here at the bottom. 2nd Esdras 16 and 67. Behold, the Most High himself is the judge. Fear him. Leave off from your sins and forget your iniquities, to meddle no more with them forever. So shall the Most High lead you forth and deliver you from all trouble. If you are an Israelite, a Negro, Latino, or a Native American, or even of our scattered, if you're an Israelite, it is time to repent, because Jacob's trouble is here. We're coming into that great and terrible day of the Lord, and you want him to pass over yourself and your family. You want to eat in these times. You want to be delivered from all the trouble that's coming. And you got to turn away from what we were taught early. You got to get out of the indoctrination of Western civilization that the Edomites have put us under and come back to our true heritage. No choice. Verse 68, for behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols. I feel like some of these people that are being taken and put in these different camps and alligator Alcatrazes might have the option of taking the MOTB, the micro C-hip, to get released, or maybe first getting under the digital ID that they're trying to bring. But we're watching the burning wrath of a great multitude. It's kindled over us. They are coming in like that flood I've spoken of. But eventually they're going to get to the Lord's elect, and the standard is going to be lifted. We're at the end of Esau's world, and at this point, they're messing with 2/3. 2/3 are being judged, but eventually it's going to spread. 69, and they that consent unto them shall be had in derision and in reproach and trodden under foot. Don't consent unto Esau, Edom. Don't take what he's trying to deliver unto you, which is that MOTB, and to keep you in this Western mindset. He wants to keep you as a good slave, worshiping his image, their image, and you can't. This is the time to repent and turn back to the Lord. Verse 70, for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. The Israelites, that's who fears the Lord. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. They took a helicopter and roped down to a building full of Jake not too long ago in Chicago. These are madmen. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. They were outside at night doing this exact thing. We're seeing these scriptures come to life. It says, then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. So the enemy is coming in like a flood, but eventually that standard will be lifted, and everyone's going to know that we are the sons and daughters of the living power. It says, hear, O ye my beloved, saith the Lord, behold, the days of trouble are at hand. These days of Jacob's trouble. This is a time of trouble such as never been before. But I will deliver you from the same. Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for the Most High is your guide. Trust in Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, because the days are evil, but we need to be under the Lord's wing, and He will lead us out of this. And so, Lord willing, that was edifying. I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Urchak, Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.